What's going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here from gfsantos.com, the creator and author of Marijuana Mindfulness, available now on Amazon for only $7. In today's video, I'm going to read you something from The Power of Now, from Chapter 8, Enlightened Relationships. Just some context for people who don't know. This book is awesome. It is a guide to spiritual enlightenment. And I first heard about it through Elliot Hulse. And I've heard so many other people who have a lot of credibility in the world give this book a lot of praise. And I can personally attest to the praise it gives. It is one of the few books that I constantly bring out of my library. It's that helpful to me. Alright, guys? Most people pursue physical pleasures or various forms of psychological gratification because they believe that those things will make them happy or free them from a feeling of fear or lack. Happiness may be perceived as a heightened sense of aliveness attained through physical pleasure, or a more secure and more complete sense of self attained through some form of psychological gratification. This is the search for salvation from a state of unsatisfactoriness or insufficiency. Invariably, any satisfaction that they obtain is short-lived. So the condition of satisfaction or fulfillment is usually projected once again onto an imaginary point away from the here and now. Quote, when I obtain this, or I am free from that, then I will be okay. End quote. This is the unconscious mindset that creates the illusion of salvation in the future. True salvation is fulfillment, peace, life in all its fullness. It is to be who you are, to feel within you the good that has no opposite, the joy of being that depends on nothing outside itself. It is felt not as a passing experience, but as an abiding presence. In theistic language, it is to know God, not as something outside you, but as your own innermost essence. True salvation is to know yourself as an inseparable part of the timeless and formless one life, from which all that exists derives its being. True salvation is a state of freedom from fear, from suffering, from a perceived state of lack and insufficiency, and therefore from all wanting, needing, grasping, and clinging. It is freedom from compulsive thinking, from negativity, and above all from past and future as a psychological need. Your mind is telling you that you cannot get there from here. Something needs to happen, or you need to become this or that before you can be free and fulfilled. Okay. So I read that to you today to let you know that if you find yourself constantly running to weed to feel good, it has to do with the fact that on some level, not just because you want to feel good, but because it's almost like you need it. You get what I'm saying? That what you're doing is you're trying your best to be free from the state of unsatisfaction and unfulfillment, or some kind of level of suffering that you're experiencing. And when I say suffering, I don't necessarily mean like someone's beating you up, or someone you know just died, or your legs cut off. I mean like that fucking sense of not really being okay with what's going on, whether it's boredom, whether it's stress, whether it's just not feeling right. What that passage says to me, and what I think it's saying, is that most people, myself included, no, people in general, we have within us our mind. And our mind needs things in order to feel good. Right? Like it needs it. Like you need to be satisfied in some way on the external level. Like need to go watch that movie to be entertained. Need to go and take a run. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be entertained or to go take a run. I'm saying that the fundamental level of feeling like you're not enough or not being fulfilled or being unsatisfied with your life, whether your life as a whole or your life like in this moment, whether you're unsatisfied with what's happening outside or you're unsatisfied with the emotion and the thoughts that you're having, that although it is normal and 100% cool to go and try and solve that permanently through always chasing or getting something, it's actually the awareness of the mind and the games it's playing that will allow you to actually step outside of the mind and the game it keeps running without having to go and do the thing that you think you need to do, without having to check off all the boxes on your list, without having to be, do, or become anything other than where you are right now. And I know that's loaded, and depending on where you are in your journey, like you might think that's a load of crap, or if you're on another part of your journey, you totally understand, even though you don't quite like make that happen all the time. My point with this video, guys, is that what helped me in my journey to, at the very least, be empowered whenever I find myself running to weed and that causing me to go into a state of depression, is that I don't make it about the weed. And I don't make it about even like my habits. It's really about consciousness and awareness and allowing yourself to be gentle with yourself when you do find yourself using weed to try and solve a problem that it can never fully solve, meaning like finding access to true inner peace. And that even the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment that you might feel for feeling like you've been operating as an addict, that you don't have to go 30 years without smoking weed to like be forgiven. And that the reason why I was even able to step outside of my addiction way back when and to see that, oh my God, like it's really not addiction, guys. Like that's the pop culture, pop psychology explanation. It's about the brain. You're that explanation might be fair for like a dog, right? Or like a rat. You're not a rat or a dog. I will admit that we have animalistic properties within us, and that when we are habitually, almost mindlessly going to weed all the time, that is for sure, like, your soul is not present at that moment. It's totally just this pleasure, pain, brain, biochemical thing that is totally running the show. And what I want you to know is that at a low level of consciousness, you almost have a person has almost no ability to combat those pleasure pain biological forces. Not fucking happening. It takes at the minimum just like a sliver of light and access to some sense of personal power for a person to be able to even consider saying no and have a sense of belief and faith in their ability to do that. And that when we get lost in patterned weed smoking to the point where we literally are just like needing to feel good and we drop all our shit, that like that's low-key not even your fault that you keep doing that, because you're in this position where the chemicals in your body are running the show. And so my deepest advice is to read 2 books if you find yourself really in the heaps of weed addiction. And that's, the first book I would say is definitely my book, Marijuana Mindfulness. And then the close second book is this book, for sure. The reason why I recommend my book is because my book is directly about weed. And this book will give you more tools and more empowerment on how to not be run by lower states of consciousness. Okay? At the very least, you'll be aware. You'll be aware of what the fuck is out there in terms of like tools. Emotional, psychological, and spiritual tools. So powerful, it's crazy, man. Okay? Anyways, guys, I want to let you guys know, just to wrap this video up, that I really appreciate you all, and it's not easy for me sometimes to speak confidently and with certainty about spiritual stuff and consciousness and awareness, but I appreciate your listening, and you know, let me know how y'all are doing. Like, I want to see some fucking celebrations in the comments. I want to see some progress. And if I also just want to know how y'all are doing, like regardless of the fact that if you feel like you're still trapped in addiction or whatever, you're moving forward, like I want you guys to know that like that's all good. Like you're alive. Like you don't need to, you know, I get that you might have responsibilities and you might be letting people down in your life personally, but at the end of the fucking day, if you were to die tomorrow, none of that bullshit would matter. And all that we would wish for is that you were still alive. Okay? And so I want you to know that the heaviness and the suffering that you feel in the midst of your life and in the midst of this thing called weed addiction, that it's not nearly as serious as the fact that you're alive and that you have an opportunity, we have an opportunity to connect and to share life together, right? So that's what really matters, guys. Like, this weed stuff is not a big deal, although I know it really is a big deal when you're in it. And I'm here for you guys, and I thank y'all for rocking with me. Yo, let's get a fucking big fucking round of applause for being at 186 subscribers, baby. Hey, that's a shit ton of people, y'all. Imagine if you had 186 random ass people that you never even met before freaking watching your shit, y'all. Like, you know, being down with you, messing with your content. Like, that's a big deal to me. 186 is a big ass number to me when I put it in perspective. And I appreciate you all. And if you haven't already, go buy my book, because I reread that book. It took me probably like maybe 30-40 minutes. That shit is clutch. Anyways, I love y'all. I'll see you next time. Peace.